for joining today. Lovely to meet you. Just for anyone that's new to this, my name's Martin Richards. I am from Agriton, and we like to go around the country to highlight some amazing projects that are being available. And this food waste project is definitely one of the best I've seen when it comes to starting up and continuing going, which is the main thing. So I'd like to introduce Chris. Chris, who are you?
Hi Martin. Hi. My name's Chris Pullman. I'm part of the Compost Culture project, which is a Birmingham-based project funded by the Climate Action Fund and the National Lottery. And we've just got the funding. Well, we got the funding last year to continue the project for another 5 years to try and help, I guess, to kind of change the narrative on composting in the city, particularly to support the council, who are bringing in a citywide food waste scheme. But our kind of focus, I guess, is empowering third sector organisations, charities, schools, and getting all those guys set up and composting properly.
And I think the problem that most people have, and people who are watching this are definitely going to say that, you know, how do we start, etc. So it's nice to share information. How did you establish yourselves, and how long have you been going for? And also, what tips would you give people that are wanting to do their own local composting to help with grants and funding?
Okay, so myself and Elizabeth Rowe have an arts organisation called General Public, and we've been going about a decade, but growing was something that Liz in particular really got into probably, I don't know, five or so years ago. And being artists, you often go into lots of different fields, and yeah, we got into growing projects. We got a development grant from the National Lottery for 2 years for the Compost Culture project, and then we got it again for the 5 years again recently. We're just part of a partnership group that also involves other third sector organisations. So Incredible Surplus, who do some amazing work in the city, redistributing all of the food that supermarkets can't get out on time.
Yeah.
Probably talk about them a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, I would like to stop you there. I know I did ask you to talk about obviously funding and stuff, but Incredible Surplus, by far, and this is, you know, one thing that we generally believe in, is that food is only surplus because it doesn't know where to go. And people like yourselves, but obviously, are able to distribute it. You know, one of my pet hates is best before dates. You know, because when it comes to best before, we all know that the sniff test is the easiest thing to do it. Milk is probably one of the key ones. Even in our office, you know, we will always sniff it before we even think about looking at a best before date. So how has that worked with you know, kind of stopping that supermarket then waste project? How's that gone about?
So, well, Incredible Surplus have been active in the city for quite a long time now, run by incredible woman called Anne Gallagher. And they've got lots of different locations across the city where they're intercepting all of the food waste. They're part of the Food Justice Network as well. Got quite a lot of distribution points where people can go to. It's not a food bank. It's a different system. So it's either a pay as you feel, but if you can't pay, then you're asked to kind of contribute some time or something else to the project. So lots of the people who might use the services of Incredible Surplus then give their time to the project in terms of coming to work on the growing and composting sites that we've got. So they're all actively involved in that kind of closing the loop process, I guess. And a lot of people's lives have been changed through coming and being involved in this particular project and being involved in composting as well.
And I think this is the thing, is that, you know, for people that are watching this, it's really hard to understand how much waste these supermarkets have without actually seeing it in situ. And I've watched some of your own videos, you know, what comes in. Unfortunately, we were just discussing off camera actually, and one thing to emphasise is, if you are thinking about doing one of these projects with food waste, you are not going to have control over what comes in. What's the number one thing that you get surplus of that comes here? It can't be distributed out to be easily. What comes on the site?
3 days a week we do a pickup from a place called the Share House in Birmingham, which is Incredible Surplus's hub, where they redistribute all the supermarket food that is getting near its sell-by date. They do an amazing job of distributing that across the city, but anything that does go past its date or they can't distribute, we bring to one of our sites across the city where we try to compost all of that. So we end up on a Monday or a Wednesday or Friday, we might have 20 plus boxes like this of food waste. Sometimes it's all the really good greens, some, you know, all of the vegetables, but sometimes you get some really unusual gluts. So you might have loads of donuts or loads of bakery items, which you then need to soak and kind of treat them a little bit differently in order to bring them into your kind of hot composting setup. We've had some really unusual gluts over the years. Loads and loads of hummus one time, a couple of tons of rice that was used in an art installation, and then last Christmas loads of the fermented drink kefir, just hundreds and hundreds of bottles of that, which we then had to try and compost with, which you can do in hot composting if you do it properly. So we have every week, you never know what you're going to get and you never know how much you're going to get, but the volunteers on the project then work to compost all of that at our kind of regular sessions. We use a variety of methods for composting. We've got our 3-bay hot composting system, which has been designed by a guy called Pete Ashton. It's completely rat proof with galvanised mesh slabs underneath. It's all modular, so all of the sections come apart, so that can be taken right out. The middle sections pull out, so when you turn in your pile, it's all designed to kind of ease that hot composting process. They're of a really good size as well, the bays. So this is a new hot compost pile, and that's getting really hot today. That's already up to about 150, so that's getting really hot in there. That's one of their newest piles, maybe done probably last Friday, maybe that one. So we've got 3 bays here, and then all of the compost that we make is then used on the site where we grow the fruit and the vegetables that then goes back to the share house to be distributed to people on a pay-as-you-feel basis, or if they haven't got money, then they can volunteer some time to the project by coming to help us on the allotments. Talked through some of the processes that we use on site, and then this is, I suppose, one of the final parts of the jigsaw. Got a couple of ton builders bags here, and this is really the maturation stage. So this is the compost that's come out of the 3-bay system, and you can see that's quite lots of wood lice in there. So it's not bad compost. And Liz and the volunteers, they use all of this on the site, which is a no dig system. So that's what Liz is trying to do across all of the allotment sites that we've got. We've got one in here in Handsworth. We've got another one in Smethwick, and then we've also got another one in Kings Heath as well. And they're all run as no dig sites, using predominantly just all of the compost that is produced on the project. Sometimes we have a little manure delivery as well to go in there, but the idea is that it's a completely closed loop. So we're not buying any compost, we're making all of our own. Sometimes we've got really large food gluts that come through incredible surplus and the share house, but we've also got a lot of other partners in the project, schools and other community organisations who aren't set up yet to process all of their own food waste. So what we try to do is we're trying to set up Bokashi systems with these particular organisations. So we provide all of the tubs, we provide all of the bran, and then we provide the training in how to do the Bokashi process properly. They do all of the Bokashi on site. The advantage with Bokashi, and if you're using it in kitchens or nurseries, is that all of the food waste is always kept sealed. So there's no problems with the smell, there's no problems with rats as well, which is obviously very off-putting to people if they're just getting into composting. So got one Bokashi tub here, but that one's half full, but you can see that there's the lovely white mould on top of that one there. So this isn't a bad bucket of Bokashi. And the process that we use is, once we've got all of that Bokashi, and it's obviously sat for a couple of weeks, is that we then kind of almost use that as as an inoculant or to boost our kind of hot composting setup, and we, you know, sometimes you put some of that on and it's really like rocket fuel. It really gets the composting processes going. Sometimes in an urban environment it's very different to a rural context, so we have lots of different things coming onto the site through incredible surplus. Got loads of cardboard, as much cardboard as you want in the city, but you also get things like this coming onto the site. So these are all the old buckets from the kind of large scale cannabis growing that obviously happens across the city. The police, instead of just chucking all of those, they pass those on to incredible surplus, and then that's something that we then need to try and incorporate onto the site or into our composting system as well. That's very some very dense. That one's not too bad, but sometimes they're almost like rocks and they've still got all the kind of the roots in there. So it's a bit like the rice or the hummus or the kefir. You get all sorts of different things in that kind of urban context that you're then trying to process, and you never know quite what you're going to get week by week. So the Bokashi is important to the process, sort of as the rocket fuel for the hot composting system, but we've also got a Ridan on site as well over here. There's a variety of systems on the project. I've talked about the 3-bay system, I've talked about the Bokashi, but I suppose the third element is the Ridan, which is, you know, it's become quite an indispensable part of the project. We've got one on this site at VJ, we've got another one in Smethwick, there's also one at Borsall Heath City Farm, and there's also Ridans in some of the schools that we're starting to work with as well. Because of the variety of food waste that we have coming onto the project, I think I've talked before a bit about the bread and the rice and all the very different foods that you might come in. You also get some really unusual gluts coming in. You might get loads of chicken Kievs or a load of samosas, lots of things which they're not ideal for putting into your hot composting setup. So that's where the Ridan comes into play, because it can kind of deal with anything. It can deal with the meat that you might get sometimes coming in, or the, you know, the slightly out of life supermarket meat. And so we kind of use that for all of those sorts of things. Sometimes we might put a bit of Bokashi in there to like really kind of kickstart it again. But this takes kind of all of those sorts of food items that can't necessarily go into the other composting processes. We find it really, you know, we find the Ridan really great. I think it's important that when people are trained up how to use it properly, the Ridan can be a brilliant way of dealing with all of those unusual types of food waste that you have coming through the project in a city, and it can obviously produce the compost fairly quickly as well. Full up at the moment. I think they put in quite a lot last week, so it's obviously important every time you come to give it a turn, give it 20 or 30 turns, and just to keep everything turning over to try and get like a really nice mix in there. There we go, that's turning nicely now. And this is a job that a lot of the volunteers really enjoy doing. I think there's something very therapeutic about turning the Ridan and then seeing, hopefully, some of the nice compost coming out the bottom. Sometimes you get some really nice stuff coming out, but then we've obviously got like some maturation bays and some builder's bags where we let it sit for a while as well. Sometimes we then might put a little bit back into the 3-bay system as well, so that we kind of get a really nice mix of materials going into there. Obviously the composting is a massive part of the project, but it's, you know, it's equally important that we're growing fresh, nutritious food in the compost that we're making. So a big part of the project is growing fruit and vegetables in the compost that we make, and then the people who come to volunteer on the project are able to then take that fresh food home with them. Otherwise it goes to the share house, where again it's distributed on that pay-as-you-feel basis, or if you want to give us some time to the project, then you can take the food home. So that's really important in trying to, I guess, educate people about that closed loop that you can create when you're making your own compost. So got all sorts of things growing at the moment. Got some lovely peas over there, got some squash, got some beetroot that are all coming together, lots of fennel, and then we've got some really nice African kale here. So perennial kale, which Liz has got this growing all across the sites now, and this is, you know, this isn't something that you get in the supermarket, but this is something really popular with a lot of the people who come to the share house, because it's, you know, it's really lovely, fresh, nutritious food that is really versatile as well and can be used in lots of different dishes. You also get unusual things. We've got like a kind of a tree spinach here, which almost grows like a weed. I think it's kind of related to fat hen. We thought this was like a weed to start with, but grows really vigorously. But it's just a type of spinach, again, that's really versatile. And I guess a big part of the project is that it's no dig, and that we're using all the compost that we make on the sites, and then we're kind of teaching people about no dig as well, and the benefits of no dig and the benefits of making your own compost.
I'd love to obviously introduce your partners to the project, because partly without them they wouldn't even this project wouldn't even exist. So do you mind just listing the partners and what their involvement are?
Sure. So it's a partnership project. We're stronger because of that. So the partners in the project are General Public, which is an arts and growing organisation. That's myself and Elizabeth Rowe. Incredible Surplus, who do some amazing work across the city, distributing all of the surplus food waste from supermarkets. We've got St Paul's Trust, who been in an area called Borsall Heath in Birmingham for 30 or 40 years now. They've got the Borsall Heath City Farm based there. They're a brilliant partner, really great tight composting setup. We've also got a place just around the corner from here called Crick Gardens, which is an amazing community garden space. Birmingham Friends of the Earth are another one of our partners. They're right in the heart of the city. Got a great community garden space out the back where they're doing composting. And then also another third sector organisation called the Active Wellbeing Society, who do a whole kind of range of different activities around play and leisure and growing and kind of empowering people to do different things. So there are kind of 5 or 6.
I'm sure there's loads of other people involved in it. So yeah, obviously there'll be in the comments. There'll be probably another list of people that are involved in it. But yeah, without these people, these things wouldn't even take off the ground. So yeah, thank you very much for your support with all that. And if you are interested in supporting this project or any other projects, please get in contact with Action, and we'll definitely direct you in the right direction.
Thanks, Martin.
Thank you.